That rainy night back home was not one of calm rest and peace for our spry Gregor Besmirch. After all, the world had to be saved by the small band of adventurers he had found friends in for around a year. So, why did he choose to run away now? Just when they agreed to choose his world over their own, to follow the cursed one into the ground, to save his dear friend Vo Skylighten. Did he not feel that he deserved it? Were his thoughts of discontent taking back over? After all, these friends of his never opened up to him, never talked about their insecurities, nor gave him a real reason why they chose to carry this burden. So he ran. Ran from his family, ran from his friends, ran from his God, ran from the storm, and ran from the light. Though the rain would subside, the sun would rise. His party would follow.
Gregor!
Gregor!
Gregor! Where are you?
The adventurers searched the town. They found and then lost his scent to the pungent smell of the morning dew. The party all called out, except for the one who shared his curse. She simply knew he was already long gone, but they continued to search regardless. They knew Gregor's end would come if he followed this path alone. In fact, the lizard man who could hear the whispers of his own god in his ear promised the fates that would await the ranger. In turn, Chaac uttered a prayer and clutched the holy book that he held so dear to his chest.
May our paths cross again. You can outrun patches, even outrun the rain, but you cannot outrun fate.
To call out to a being lost even to the memory of time, and for it to be heard seems impossible, but to call out and hear it echo, that is unimaginable. Suddenly, an unkindness of ravens flocked to the buildings surrounding the party. For a moment, a breeze that brings shivers and goosebumps passed. The prophet's reptilian eyes flickered black, and the ravens vanished into feathers. The forest grew thick. Gregor still ran, soaked in rain and mud, grasping his bow. Finally, he tripped. Barely being able to catch himself as he fell into the mud, he flinched as his hands and bow sank into a puddle. When his eyes open, he sees his reflection staring back at him. For a moment, he catches his breath, staring himself down before pulling himself back to his feet, wiping gobs of mud off his trousers and cloak. As Gregor's eyes move back upward, they meet his own, staring back at him. For an instant he stood shocked as this figure standing in front of him with a cheeky grin across its face. Gregor reaches for an arrow and attempts to pull it back, but finds no string nor bow to do so. Gregor falls to his knees to search for the bow in the puddle below, but finds nothing more than rocks and twigs. He looks back up to meet his fate. The figure stood, still holding his bow outward, inspecting it.
You do not remember seeing me, do you? No? It was only one time before, but more may soon come.
The form reaches out and touches the top of Gregor's head, and they both look up. The sky is clear, and the trees still sway in the wind. Gregor's form turns to the kid he was once before, untouched by the curse that had taken into his blood. Black. Black takes once again. Searing pain shot across Gregor's forearm, and blood flowing into his mouth. And a deep hunger swells at the pit of his stomach. His eyes shoot open as he watches himself tear into his own flesh, ripping and devouring, and he simply cannot stop. And then a familiar form puts her hand on his shoulder. The form of his dear friend Vo Skylighten, as she begins to whisper.
Oh no, Gregor. It's a real shame you came alone.
The hunger would still not subside. He notices a purple form in a haunting tailcoat and top hat, lurking in the shadows, chuckling and snapping his fingers to the tap of his scepter. Zuvus begins to approach, and lowers himself to Gregor's eye level with a devilish grin across his face. The form shatters and turns to the reflection of Gregor back in the forest, talking to himself.
Believe me, Gregor, you don't want to die, but this is how you do it. This action of yours. It is what brought you to your knees so many times. Learn, Gregor. Then maybe the death you want will find you, but you cannot let yourself die. It will come to others before you, based on the choice that you make. I can help you. How? That is up to you. Maybe this is your way of knowing what you should do. Or you can keep trudging on this path and run right into this fate, and I cannot stop you if that is the fate you choose. But I can try to make it not so. Gifts, maybe. Gifts? Warnings, perhaps. Who are you? I am you, as well as the one you are trying to save, and everyone your friends are trying to save. I don't understand. The one Saleri despises so much. The one the fiends cower from. The one whose door you have been standing at for so long. The one Chaac tries so hard to appease. The puller of strings. I've spent a lot of time being pulled. I don't want that feeling again. Being pulled towards what? Well, in every direction, I guess. Obligations, as we all have. Perhaps the desires we crave in our own hearts, or to feed upon.
The form produces a cookie, or a biscuit, if you will, from his cloak. In awe, Gregor scrambles for one of his own.
The fate of everyone around you. These things that call you. Is this correct? I imagine it is. But you do not know which direction you are truly pursuing. Enlighten me. Enlightenment is something the gods do. How else would you define yourself? As yourself. How would you define yourself? A mess. Well, it looks like I'm currently a mess. So, you are all of us, everything. Does that not make you part of Saleri as well? It does. But do you know what makes the difference between me and you, and me and him? No? It is how he outruns me, how you outrun me. You do not. It just happens. He scratches his teeth and claws, even doing as much as giving away the only humanity he has left, because he knows that one day, if he is not me, he will be nothing. But you just want to be content. He will never be. Well, hopefully he will never be, but mortals are the ones who define my fate. One that I cannot see, one that I'll never see, nor could the fate before me. Where do you seek your contentment, Gregor? Recklessly. Is that how you wish to seek what you think you want? All I know is I have to keep going. Whatever happens on the way happens, I have to just keep going.
The form sits down in front of Gregor, not in the puddle, but on top, and rests the bow across his lap. He pulls out an arrow in one hand, an arrow fletched in raven feathers, and its shaft is wrapped in silken twine, while the arrowhead is perfectly silvered. In the other hand, nothing. Gregor's gaze stares at the empty hand.
What do you think that hand means? Release. How about the arrow? Enslavement.
The form returns to his feet and offers a hand to help Gregor back to his own.
What do you think this means?
Gregor stares at the godly hand that reaches down towards him.
Compassion. Kindness. I don't know.
The form twists his hand, which suddenly is holding a cookie in it.
You see, my mother would do this as a trick. How do I know you're not just doing the same?
The form twists his hand once again, and then the cookie appears in his mouth.
So what are you then? All of us? Are you life? Are you death? No. No, not life. So what are we? Not alive? You exist because you were created, but not of my doing, and now no one can take it away. And if nothing was alive, I could not exist either. So are you purpose then? Well, what is one's fate but their purpose? Oh, now you're just handing it to me. Are you fate, or do others just call you that? At times, yes, but I don't call myself anything. Well, you should try it. What do you call yourself? Besides a mess, of course. Well, Gregor, I guess. Gregor whom? It's like I'm being told off. Gregor Besmerge. You fancy that name still? Do you feel as if you are living up to it? Or is it a name you have yet to live up to? I used to feel I could make something from it, but now... Now what? Is it just something to identify your form by? Something to define your parents as? Or, I mean, in the way you were talking earlier, it makes it seem like it doesn't matter. When you have as many true names as I do, as many identities, as many hopes, as many dreams, as many cares, and as many desires as everyone, what do you call yourself? Sounds a lot like a god to me. That is where you are wrong. Your gods still have names. Your gods are bound. Their morality and their names matter. Your name matters. I thought I'd spoken to everyone and everything. I thought I'd gotten onto my path again. Now I'm not sure what that means. If you are not looking for words, if you are not looking for weapons, then what? What has gotten you this far? Because it certainly hasn't been those two things. Have you been... You're the puller of strings. I do not pull the strings, they merely exist. I simply mingle with them, twist them, per se. They must connect somewhere. The strings do connect, at their end. I just make sure they intertwine with the support they need until then. It is not my place to cut or force them.
A series of strings exist between his hands, and he twists them. Two birds flying in separate paths soon merge and follow each other.
Some paths can help in being crossed. Doesn't that new pair look nice? I thought one would fall to the ground. Why would that happen? I don't even have any scissors. What if I keep walking? You'll probably die. I cannot outright tell you. I can try to show you, but then again, some wills can outwit those strings. I think I'm more lost than I started. Of course, you are. You haven't gotten anywhere yet. And why are you here? I am here because a prophet asked me to be. This person, he called you. Yes, the one and only. After all, he does care for you. I guess I have got something to find out then.
Gregor looks over his shoulder, back towards the direction of the town. As his head turns forward to the figure, it's gone, leaving nothing but the empty forest ahead. The bow sits atop of the mud, slowly sinking, but now is restrung, and the runes inscribed glow dark.
Thank you. Seriously. Thank you.
The party is discussing how to find their ally, while the prophet sits to meditate on his prayer. A raven roosts next to him as the prophet begins to open his eyes. The raven sits for a little longer before flying off. Chaac's head tracks the raven and soon begins to fly south. The rest of the party notices him wander off.
Chaac? Where are you going?
The adventurers pursue Chaac. The bird finds purchase on a bench. Chaac joins the bird as the rest of the party follows behind. Staring off into the forest, they see a small form of Gregor appear. The small Philaday rushes towards Gregor. Gregor looks over his shoulder sarcastically, but as he looks back, he gets punched in the face by Patches.
You know, you got a lot of nerve running off like that.
I just went for a walk. You guys look to have been fine.
Chaac sinks into the bench, looks down, and gives a warm nod towards the bird. The rest of the party rushes towards their returned friend.
Do you know how scared I was? How scared we all were. I don't want to lose you. We don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose anybody else.
And that's where this memory ends, leaving a door open for new ones to begin.